Good morning, everybody. We are here for the Tevis Education Clinic 2025, and we have altered the format this year to try something new, see how it works, see how it goes, find out what people really like, and because everything is always open to revision in ways that are designed to have positive forward motion. My name is Erin McChesney, and I want to thank the Western States Trail Foundation for asking me to participate in today's clinic and to try to lead our riders in the successful path towards completion of Tevis, if it's their first time or if it's their 10th time, whatever it might be. And so I really appreciate that opportunity and want to express my gratitude to the Board of Governors for their support and their encouragement. So a little bit about who I am. I have finished the Tevis 3 times. First time as a junior in 1980 and made it onto the Scripps Cup. I've tried the ride 3 other times and didn't finish in a variety of different fashions. One day turning in my card at the start line and realizing it was not the day to ride. And then electing to pull myself at Robinson Flat when I had a tack problem and put me 45 minutes behind the entire field of riders. And then I had a horse that had a stone bruise at Francisco's. And then I have also finished the ride 2 other times since then on an extraordinary horse called Cougar's Vitae. And we had 2 really good days. And in 1991, we won the ride and got Hagen Cup. And in 1996, after I had 2 children and she had a foal, we repeated our wins and got the Tevis Cup and Hagen Cup a second time. So pretty extraordinary experience. And I have been involved with the Tevis since 1976 was my first experience watching riders cross Highway 49 and handing out carrots and coffee to the riders and realizing that this was going to be a part of my life for the rest of my life.
I've told people for years that Tevis was like a drug, and that it's one of those events that once you do it, you either are totally hooked or you'll never touch it again. And it's the kind of thing that it has so much magic to it and so much energy on its own. It's almost like it's like a live organism, you know, from the time it begins and the time it ends, from late Thursday night till late Sunday evening. There's just this time warp that exists, and it's called the Tevis.
So that's what Tevis is, that's what it does for us, and I'm really glad to have everybody here. We have a small group. I think we'll get to know each other really well and build some really good friendships today. So with that, I want to introduce key people that are here and find out how many buckles they have, how many accolades they have, because it's kind of might be a fun number. So I'm going to start with my 3, and then I'll go to Lori Stewart and let her share with us her experience and so forth.
My first year started with Tevis was in 1977, and I started 23 times and finished 20 times. My 20th buckle was in 2017.
Lori, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So we're gonna, come on over here.
Okay.
And I'll take this off 1 second so I don't make a whole lot of scratchy noises. Give me a moment. Give me that. You don't have to wear it. You can just talk into that.
Oops.
It's all right. We'll just have to,
Buddy up.
we'll be really close. There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So, the first year was in 77, and 40 years and 3 children, and living in both California, Colorado, and Pennsylvania for 14 years. It just became that developing an athlete's a lifestyle. And I was fortunate enough to win the ride, the Tevis Cup in 1980 and 1986, and had those brilliant rides. But I've also been competing with the 5 a.m. finish cutoff too. So over that many years, that many rides, you get the whole story. and I'm really glad you guys are here and on this journey.
Did you get some reason for one place or something like that?
Yeah, I had, no, we've got a big day and better stories out there. I finished 7 times in the top 5. So, again, I love the preparation part the most, and then the day of it, just the story plays out. But it's just, for me, it's all in the preparation, and you have a clock, and it's so funny because one year I didn't finish, and Donna Fitzgerald had a bad day too, and we were at the finish line waiting for, I think Boyd won that year, and everybody's getting antsy. It's like 9:20. So Donna says, so I don't know, my clock, I was looking at finishing at 9:15, and I said, well, it would have been a tight day because mine was 9:20. So that's how measured you get, whether you articulate it or it's subconscious. With these athletes, you develop that cadence, and you kind of become almost like a train. Coming into your crew, what time do you think you'll get into Robinson? What time do you think you can crack? So it's really fascinating that it kind of evolves in that direction. So we have a lot of other, so anyway, so 20.
20.
And you're 20?
And 20, so we're up to
Okay.
20, we're up to 23, 4 wins, 2 Hagen Cups, 1 Scripps. Lexley? What? You've ridden? No. But you've been a critical part of this ride for many, many years, like heavily invested. Okay. All right, Brenda, come on up. So this is Brenda Rudy. Brenda and I met many years ago at the Convention 50 when she asked me if I was from Auburn because it was February and my horse's tail, my gray horse's tail was orange. And I was like, how is this random lady like, she's like, oh, you must live near Auburn. And I'm looking at her like, what the? And then I go, how, what, why? Well, she goes, oh, because your horse's tail is orange. I went, oh, okay. So that's how we met. That was a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
I have 4 finishes. Not quite. I think one was in the top 20. The others were, you know,
Hold it a little closer.
a little
A little closer. Yeah, talk louder.
down from there. Probably my first one was, you know, in the near 5 a.m. But that's about it. You ride the ride, you know, that the horse gives you that day, you know, and you know, that's
Yeah? Okay. So now we're at,
not too exciting.
no, that was very exciting. We're at 27, so we got 27 finishes now. Holly All Yates. Did I get it right? All Yates. I'll get it right. Sooner or later. Here we go.
Thank you all. I'm second generation endurance rider. My mother rode the Tevis in 73, 74. I toured in 74. I thought, I'm never doing that again, ever. So I was lucky enough to have gone, there was a veterinarian named Jim Steer who had a week-long endurance riding school over in Bolinas. I was also doing NATRC competitive trail rides quite a bit in college. So in 75, I rented a horse from Cliff Lewis for $1 a mile plus $25 for the shoes. And because I was in college, I had to fund it. So I got permission from Wendell Robie to make t-shirts, and I sold them to pay for it. So that was actually my first endurance ride was in Tevis. So everything after that was like, eh. So and then I moved to Colorado, competed twice in the 90s, hauling out from Colorado. So I feel very fortunate that it was a family thing, the generational thing. A lot of us are very lucky. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone coming up behind me that has a horse team, but so We need new people, new blood, and pass it on to your friends, relatives, because it's very addictive. It's a wonderful way of life.
Okay, cool. So you have 2 finishes?
I have 3.
Oh, 3 finishes. Okay, 3 finishes. So now we're in trouble because now we're talking about my math, and I teach English. I don't teach math. So okay, so that's 10. So we're up to 30 buckles. Barbara, you're up. Barbara White is leading the charge, the Western States Trail Foundation right now. Yes, she is a well-deserved and perfect person for the job.
So like how I started out with my mother. And then I got the bug, and my first ride was in 1967. That was a Tahoe City start. So I'm a real dinosaur, and my last ride was in 2016. Over those years, I was lucky enough to make it to the finish line 34 times. No wins, no hay-ins, but multiple in between 10th and 20th place. So, plus the 24-hour plan too. So the evolution of ride is kind of the evolution of me. Started out as a teenager and I quit in my late 60s. And I nursed 2 babies on the trail. So, you do what you have to do when you got this pet addiction. So, I just want to share this event with as many people as you can. So every one of you is more than welcome here, and I hope someday you're back to the starting line at Robie Park.
Thank you. That's a lot of inspiration right there. We are at 64 buckles. All right, Kathy. This is Kathy Perry. And Kathy Perry has done so much for our sport. She was actually part of our foundational people to develop AERC. So we owe her a huge debt of gratitude. You'll have to go on my left. And I'm sorry. We can never have it the way we want. It's not Burger King. Okay, so anyway, so Kathy will introduce herself, talk about what she's done with Tevis and how many buckles you have.
I have 25 buckles. Somebody asked me which one was my favorite. Was it 1,000 miles, 2,000?
Closer to your mouth.
I always say it was my last buckle. It was the most important one, which was 2 years ago. I rode a horse that was 15. He got on the DuVarner Award, which is 5 finishes, and it was my 25th. So that's about it.
Pretty cool.
Won the ride in 78. There's not a horse in my pasture that hasn't finished the Tevis. Everybody can finish the Tevis if you can do some practice. And we're here to listen to Erin and get some tips on how you guys can finish. Got to get to the starting line first.
Yeah, that's almost the hardest part, is getting to the start line. Greg King, I can't remember. Have you've ridden? No? Okay. Greg King, go ahead and stand up so everybody knows who you are. Has always been volunteering on our rides and dedicates himself to this event. And so we owe him a huge debt of gratitude. Bob Kelly is behind you. He is our videographer and produces many videos related to equestrian activities, specifically Tevis Talks. And there's a whole bank of them. If you subscribe to his YouTube channel, Bobcat Productions, there's a lot of content there as well. Our photographer for the day, and she will share with us probably around lunchtime or something how you can access those photos if you'd like to purchase anything from today. Okay, and then we have our film crew, Tay and David and Jordan, who are helping out also, and we want to thank Chris Gray for letting us host here. She's actually riding drill team right now, and we'll be around later. Okay, those are introductions, and we did pretty good on time. And we're going to talk about challenges to plan for riding the Tevis. And this is where I have all these wonderful people that are here to help that can share in that conversation. And so we want to talk about the challenges to the ride. But I want to ask you, also, really quickly, if we can hear from the people that are here for the clinic, like if you can tell us your name and if you've tried Tevis or what kind of your goals are, and just kind of quickly get sort of a sense of where we're starting. So I guess I'll start over here to my left. And your name is?
My name is Elizabeth.
Okay. Elizabeth? Okay. And have you done any endurance riding? Haven't yet. Okay, cool. So Elizabeth, who rode before in, like most of us in our early lives, and then take a break and come back, and is now wanting to explore this idea of endurance riding and join our community. So welcome. Okay, go ahead. Your name?
Hi, my name is Carol, and last person my whole life, I'm giving out grants to read last nation. This is my first year ever taking grants myself. I got into this first through Frank Smith, and just to look at his grant and read the wheels on Tevis. And then my show, and got to meet a whole bunch of other people along the way. And this year, I got accepted to Montgomery. I was going with Mustang, and two of my participants was John. I got Greg Gus, which is Edward. And then I was getting right on his choices potentially to publish music, but I didn't get to the goal. So now I'm kind of pulling out and actually doing how I should look at the possible.
Okay.
I was wanting to do it since I was 15, and I'm done.
Okay. Sounds great. So April's been riding endurance for about 10 years, started with some local endurance riders. If you weren't able to hear all of that, had a horse lined up, hopefully for Tevis, that was sold. And so now you're still, the journey continues and everything. So welcome. Let's see. All right. And go ahead. Your name? Next to Lexi. So if you, to just summarize, so AP grew up in the Auburn area. Family's boarded endurance horses. She's volunteered. She's been a sweep rider, sweeping for us again this year. And thank you for doing that. That is a amazing thing that you're doing and contributing to the ride. We really need that, really appreciate that. And hopes to get qualified, get the qualifying miles, and be a participant soon. You said it was Diane? Yeah. Okay. So Diane from Santa Cruz, and her challenges, of course, are that she trains at sea level in cold weather, cool weather in the summer. We all envy you, just so you know. We're all like, oh, that sounds terrible. Okay. And then just talking about qualifying and then behavior. So Shalon from Humboldt County, been doing endurance for a while, has a decade team horse, tried Tevis a couple of times, and here to find out what else we can do to help you get to that finish line. Okay, next point. Is it Bill? So Bill's started riding endurance 2019, has helped on the ride and crewed on the ride, and is very determined and is going to finish this ride. Okay, do we have any other clinic participants that I didn't talk to? Is that, are you one of our participants in the clinic? Yes? Oh, you're auditing. Well, go ahead. So
So, I didn't tell you, everything on, what's in the run. But the calendar, really Ryan, is more challenging for me the year I get it as the year. It was more challenging for me as a rider because you always connected. And always need to listen all that and then taking them up and everything to all that. That was great.
and whoa, I'm sorry, what was your first name? Mo. Okay. So, oh, jeez, Mo Livermore, I know you. Okay, so I didn't recognize you. We haven't seen each other in forever, and then we're not dressed in our helmets and all that, so nobody looks the same without a helmet. Okay, so yeah, Mo's got a lot of experience with this event and the run as well, and you were saying that it's actually more challenging to ride it than to run it. Yeah. I can also say that it's less stressful to ride it than it is to crew it. Because as a crew, you don't know what's happening. That's the problem. Like, and then when you ride into Michigan Bluff in first place and your mom is there and she's leaping around and you're worried she's going to have a heart attack, then it makes you have a lot of stress. And I was like, please just make sure she doesn't have a heart attack. Okay. Okay, she was very excited. Okay. All right. So challenges for riding this ride. Like Kathy said earlier, if you can get to the start line, you did pretty good. So we need to look at the start line as our end goal, not the finish line, because if you've made it to the start line, your odds are just as good as everybody else to get to the finish line after that point. But we want to plan backwards. Okay, so hopefully everybody has something to write on or good memory, or you put it in your phone. But we're going to create a 4-step plan and talk about the challenges to get ready. And your 4th step is going to be Tevis start line. So you're just gonna make some, however you want to do. I know they gave you guys a little notepad. So you can do a 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on 4, I want you to write down Tevis start line. On number 1, I want you to write, I am here. Okay? And that means that you're at the state of conditioning, preparation, and everything that you are in the moment, and so's your horse. So make a note that your horse is also there. Like, I'm here, my horse is here. We have to start where we are. So now we've got these 2 spots in between. So a couple of you talked about where you train, horse's behavior, and qualifying miles. If you don't have your qualifying miles yet to get ready for Tevis, you don't have those 300 miles, then your step 2 should be completed the 300 qualifying miles. So if you don't have those yet, your step 2 is, I have completed the 300 qualifying miles. Now here's why we do it that way. When you are looking at step 1, you are here, that's something that's already happening, it's in motion. When you look at step 2 says, I've completed my 300 qualifying miles. Excuse me. And you want it to be a statement of action that has been done, not to be done. In between 1 and 2 is where you do the 300 miles. But when you get to 2, you're on a roadmap and you're like, okay, I'm at step 2. So then if you have your qualifying miles, I think a couple riders here do have their qualifying miles. Your step 2 might be different, because let's say that you're on a new horse. And so your step 2 is I want my horse to really know how to do this job, this thing called endurance. So my step 2 is my horse is really calm and focused and doing a really good job, having great recoveries on rides, looks great this day after the ride. That's my step 2, is that my horse is looking pretty good. Then we go to step 3. Step 3 is, what do I need to finish and complete in order to get to the start line? And this is a very individual question, because it involves things like time, economics, whether or not you have a horse to ride. So your step 3 can vary quite a bit by the individual. But I want you to think about, what is it that you need to have completed at step 3 that makes step 4 possible? So I'll give you a couple of minutes for you to chew on that, because that one, I can't really tell you what that is, because it depends on the person. What do you need to finish at step 3 that makes 4 happen? And then write it down. And then I'll ask you what you come up with. Anybody have an answer for 3? Something you want to share? Go ahead.
I have 2 things. I have money, which I think is honestly the easiest part, and a host of things. Because for me, is financially, I work in TV and I'm the latest actor, so it's really hard. And I have to be able to get so I know Tevis is just a lot, not just the infants, everything else is the bags. That's the easy part. I can make that happen. My next horse, I have this amazing photo horse. He's conditioned up. I just don't think this thing works. I think he'll maybe get to Lost Hill. But I would love to finish. If I'm making that financial leap and spending the whole year, because I want to have a whole set. I want to at least have a part of it.
Okay, so your step 3 is kind of a little bit of a hybrided one. You have the financial part, which is the planning, and it is expensive to get to Tevis. The entry fee is kind of the cheapest part of the whole deal, even though it is a steeper entry fee, because of all the money we have to spend to go out and train and to get things and all the things. You know, it's a lot. The horse that you're riding, that you'd like to ride, I would say that there's been a number of horses of different breeds, many of which were heavier breeds, that have been very successful on Tevis. They have to be ridden differently than a lithe Arabian does, but to look at the individual, it depends on the individual. Plus, horses muscle up depending on what they do. If you were taking that quarter horse and you were getting him ready for Tevis by cutting and reining every day, he would look like a bulldog and it would be a hard day for him. But if he went down the trail to prepare for being down the trail, his muscles will lean out a little bit and his odds are better, but your heat management will be a different protocol than someone with a horse that's a little bit lighter. As I recall, Lori or Kathy probably know the answer to this question. I think Pat Chappell's horse was a quarter horse, was the first horse that did 10 consecutive years of finishes. And Thundy, her Thundy was an obnoxious creature. And Pat laughs when I describe this horse because this horse was built downhill about 5 inches. She had an apple bottom that was this big giant whoop in the back. And her front legs came out of the same hole that she had to like runway walk. And she had a U-neck and she had the worst attitude on the planet. And it might be why she finished every time, because I think she was so aggravating that I think Pat was just like, I'm gonna ride her 100 miles, maybe she'll be better today. And anyway, whatever it was, but that horse, I think she has more than 10 finishes on her, but that was the very first horse that had 10 consecutive finishes, if I remember my history right. Yeah, I'm getting some nods. I think so.
Work to 13 times. Say again, work. Buffalo Bill McMahon was the first to be involved. Overall, 10 Buffalo Bill source.
And Buffalo Bill was a heavy horse too, wasn't he? Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So that's a fairly clear, I like that. It's a clear statement for step 3. It's not necessarily like a task completed, like, oh, I have to, do 300 miles or whatever. But so hers is pacing and managing the horse for heat. So that's really good step 3. The idea behind it is to really know that when you get to step 3 and it's completed, you have a system in place. You're not still working on it at step 3. You worked on it between 2 and 3. And then at 3, you're like, now I know exactly what to do in terms of pacing and management, heat management with this particular individual. So that's a great one. That would get you to the start line. Okay, another step 3. Okay, no, it's totally fine. So that's good though, because you're thinking of the big picture. So, and forget your first name, sorry. Elizabeth. So Elizabeth's step 3 is that she's got everything dialed in. She's got everything dialed in for her training on her horse, for herself, food, vet checks, what works for her horse. She's got all the boxes checked so that she knows going from there to the start line, you're not guessing anymore, right? You're not, don't buy a new breast collar up there and put it on your horse. Buy the breast collar, use it after the ride. But anyway, so yeah, it's you've got you're well oiled, you're ready to roll. So that's a great step 3. So step 3 there is to have the horse housed in a way that it's better for the horse's overall health, not as stressful as a box stall, and more appropriate for an endurance horse too. Endurance horses need a lot of time just in the paddock or the pasture, just stretching their legs. They just need to move. That helps a lot too. It's not just the mental part of it, but it's the physical. Is really good to have that ability to move around. So the step 3 is that you've got that dialed in and figured out. So that's all. I like this system. I use this system a lot with my students and with riders because it gets rid of all the noise. It's very easy to get lost in the weeds planning for something, especially if it's a big ticket item and you're not really sure how to get there. A lot of times we get distracted and wander around like a butterfly in a hurricane and don't know what to do. And so this system of just keeping it simple, like the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid type of thing, and setting a hard goal that, I mean, we call Tevis a hard goal, but we know it's in flux. We know it could change because we've all been there. Wednesday before the ride, your horse pulls a shoe and rips half its foot out, and you're like, well, okay, I guess I'm gonna crew now. And so things happen, right? So we still establish that line in the sand and then work our way backwards with 2 really logical, doable steps that keep us from getting lost in the weeds. So that's why I ask you to do that. And let's start with a couple of things that we heard. Training at sea level and colder conditions than what we have here. Although we know that depending on where you sit, Santa Cruz, so it's pretty hilly, I imagine there's a lot of good climbs there. So you can get those climbs. So you'd be able to get that element going. But of course, the elevation change, it's one of those things that it's been my experience, and we can ask Dr. Kelly when she gets here, but if you take a horse to elevation and you just go right away, you're probably going to be fine. It's when we go and we stay at elevation for like a week or 10 days and the horse's body is still trying to accommodate that we tend to get in a little bit of trouble. So I've seen a lot of people that have come from coastal regions roll in on Thursday, ride Tevis, and the horse does fine. The heat thing's going to always be a factor. And I, other than riding on the inland side of those mountains and getting some heat training, I don't.
I sent you to Creighton Hill for heat training.
Okay.
Just made the ulcers dead. We couldn't get all of us.
Oh, got it.
So it was just too much for that was.
Yeah.
I just took her out of clinic and I put her on and we were in Springs program. And you have to manage your stomach care. I have to
Yeah.
Yeah, the ulcer thing is it's a real deal. And it is challenging to figure out where to put a horse so that we can keep that from being as much of an issue and trying to, mitigate that to the best of our ability. But yeah, there are ways to manage the heat. And I think that the horses are pretty adaptable for temperature. It's, in my opinion, having been here all my life where it gets to be over 100 regularly throughout the summer, it's been harder for me to go and do a coastal ride in the middle of summer than it is for me to all of a sudden do a hot ride in the middle of winter. Because the horses are so acclimated to the heat, and when it's cold, they just don't have no hair. So it seems to be a little bit easier to go the other way, in my opinion, but I don't know if anybody else needs to share or want to add to that with your experiences of my esteemed colleagues that are here. Anybody else on opinion on that? Going from like a cool climate to a hot climate? Holly?
So I'm from Denver. So when I trained in Denver, it would be 100 degrees like it was 90s in Denver, and as soon as I go out to train, it would snow or rain. So getting heat training in Colorado was very difficult. What I found, because I just came, rode the ride, and went home, it was a lot easier doing that than living here and being in it all the time, because then you complain about it all the time. Get in and get done.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys all heard that, but going from Colorado where it could snow in the summertime and just coming here doing the ride and going home, not so tough, yeah.
I have a question real quick. Yeah. Once you have vascularized your horse for keeping, let's say they really just pop all the veins out to cool, is that hold season to season? Or do they kind of pull that back and bring that back for cold? Because I really got her, where she could go to hot environment and really trying to cool herself because she releases vascular. But does that stay? Once you train that into a horse, is that permanent?
I think that the horse's physiology is, especially an Arabian or a horse that tends to be more of that style or breed of horse, that when it's hot, those veins pop on all those horses. Even your quarter horses are all popped because horses have a really amazing radiator system. Their ability to cool themselves down by pushing that blood flow out to the surface is really remarkable. And I don't know that it's something that you actually can train into a horse. I think that's just who they are. I think their physiology allows for that. Because they cool themselves by sweating. So as they're sweating, the blood needs to get to the surface so it can get cooled to get the core temperature down. And that's just their system. So I don't know that that would be something that I would be really overly concerned about. I think the heat training is good. Like on the cool years on Tevis, when it rains and it snows, we have more metabolic problems because the horses don't drink as good. The hot years, we have less metabolic problems. The horses drink better. If your horse is a good drinker, your temperature being outside temperatures are going to be fine unless we're dealing with a high heat index of heat and humidity. Then we're all in trouble. But if they drink well, they're probably just going to roll through it and be fine. And I wouldn't be too overly concerned about it. Because, like Holly said, you ride in the snow in Denver all summer, and you drive out here and you ride at Tevis, the horse rolls to the finish line, you go home. I mean, they really are very quite adaptable. Really remarkable athletes. Question?
I think, since I do a lot of desert rides, and a lot of people complain about the heat, I think the heat training is probably better for the rider than the horse, because a lot of people just can't take the heat.
Right. I totally agree with you. I think the heat training is more for us than them. I think the horse has an amazing capacity to adapt in the moment, but the riders do not. And so that's the biggest problem. Most riders, I shouldn't say most, but there are a percentage of riders that don't finish the ride because they don't eat right, they don't hydrate enough, or they get some silly idea, like one of my students in his first Tevis attempt, he was, I think, 64. And he decided to tail the canyons, but he had not trained for it. And so when he got to Michigan Bluff, he was laying on the ground looking about half dead. His horse looked phenomenal. And we were like, we'll just do something. We'll feed you and get you to drink something. We'll pile you back on the horse and send you to Auburn because the horse is ready to go to Auburn. And yeah, he couldn't do it. He dusted himself. And I said, well, why did you decide to tail the canyons today? Like, what? We've trained for this whole thing together all summer, and you decided today was the day to learn how to tail the canyons. Like, what are you thinking? You know? And he's just laying there like, I think I'm better off dead. The next year he didn't tail the canyons, and he finished. He was fine. But he was an interesting guy. He bought that horse because he was shiny. Yeah, so when he was 60, didn't know anything. So in 64, or 65 years old, he finished the Tevis. Okay, let's talk about qualifying. This is a challenge. So qualifying for Tevis, you need 300 miles. And it's throughout whatever time you want, right? You don't have to do it like between now and then. There's no, you have to start on this date, and you have to be done by that date. It's accumulated mileage. And you can accomplish that with any ride, any endurance ride, 35 miles or longer. So there are very few limited distance rides that are 35 miles long. So I wouldn't count on limited distance helping you. It's great for experience. I mean, in that sense, it helps you, but qualifying it won't. The reason it says 35 is because of NATRC open rides. An NATRC open ride is 35 miles to 50 miles. And because we accept the open mileage from NATRC, we had to accept 35-mile limited distance. But again, you try to find one. They're not really out there. Because I think most ride management is like, if I'm putting on a 35-miler, they can ride the other 15 and do a 50. So, but anyway, you can qualify through open NATRC. And I would just go with that. and 50-mile or above endurance rides. And it's just you that qualifies. You don't have, the horse doesn't have to have mileage, if I have my data right. Okay. However, if you're going to ride a horse that doesn't belong to you, I really encourage you to do at least a couple of 50s on that horse first, so that you know how that horse is at the start, you know how to manage the horse at the vet checks and things like that. That's pretty important. Okay, let's look at our time. Where are we at? Okay, so that's just a little bit of stuff to talk about challenges. We're going to get through a lot of the other things that you mentioned earlier later in the day, so I don't want to dig too much deeper into that. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll take a little bit of a break, potty break, and then we're going to do a walk around on your trailers. I am also an NATRC leisure judge, so it's one of the things that we look at is your setup at the trailer only for safety. Okay, we're not looking at it because, you know, we want to tell you that your rope is the wrong color or your horse pooped over there and why haven't you cleaned it up yet? Nobody cares about that. Just for safety. So we want to take a look at that because unfortunately, I think all of us here with our 79 buckles can talk about people that got to Robie Park, tied their horses up, got bedded in, we're all like stoked, you know, ready to go the next day, and then, I don't know, the rope was too long, the rope was too short, the hay net got caught up in the horse, and their day came to a halt on Friday. So that's why we're going to do that.
Well, the buckle is the gold medal of endurance riding, as far as I'm concerned. You know, the Tevis is where it all began. That's what started endurance riding. It's what kicked the whole idea off, and worldwide it is known as the greatest accomplishment in endurance riding. I mean, we have international riding now, and we have actual gold medals for individuals and team medals and all of that, but this is where it all began, and this ride is so difficult to finish. You know, you have a 50-50 chance of making it into Auburn. So by those definitions, it is the most significant ride that I believe that you can do. So the buckle, to wear that buckle is a privilege. You can't buy it anywhere. You know, you might inherit it if you're lucky, but to wear the one that you earned is very significant. It's a way of, you know, kind of a stamp of approval that I made it. If I can survive the Tevis, then I can do anything.